Art has always been something beyond just an image. Each piece is a world isolated and yet intertwined from our own. Ideas, questions, and challenges. Art brings these directly to the viewer. However, it's something you often ignore unless you take a moment to examine the piece. To me, art is about discovery, not only about what the artist wanted to represent, but in how those ideas continue to live on or evolve to encompass today's world. It's for that reason that I chose the following paintings from the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, or LACMA. Welcome to my student art critique. The first artwork we're looking at today is The Jewel, a 1959 oil on canvas painting by DeFeo. According to the DeFeo Foundation, DeFeo is one of the truly brilliant abstract expressionist artists to have emerged after World War II. She was someone with style, moxie, and more balls than anyone. Looking at her teachers, she believed them to be working Cubism to death. She was also interested in both African and Renaissance works of art, and over her many travels, her interest in sculpture had been intensified. All of these things had come together in the making of The Jewel. DeFeo's work is a reminder of the variety and creativity that is allowed within the world of art. We often focus on a single aspect of what can be done, a flat painting or a sculpture, but we often forget that the two can be intertwined. As stated by Levy from the Whitney Museum of American Art, DeFeo used oil paint as if it were a sculptural material, hacking at it, building it up, and breaking it apart. The jewel looks as if it is a three-dimensional object. Her use of paint layered upon one another gave the painting an almost sculpturesque feel to it. She broke away from the standards of Cubism, of modern art, and expanded the ways in which a painting could be experienced. According to LACMA, the jewel depicts rays emanating from a single point. The center of the painting is quite clearly formed from the idea of a vanishing point, a clear reference from the Renaissance. As the rays stretch away from the center, they grow darker, muddied by this red. This is where the irony of the image comes into play. When someone first takes in the image, it appears as if it's something beautiful. The light at the center evokes a religious association within the painting, misleading the viewer. However, as they begin to look away from the center, what appears to be red blotches start appearing, and soon those blotches turn to stains, blood stains. The blood drips down into the darkness of the foreground. It's supposed to be a holy object, and yet it's covered in blood, almost as if the holiness of it has broken. The way I see this, I believe this to be DeFeo's way of declaring to the world, you're working Cubism to death. This once beautiful thing, done over and over, that it's been sullied. A hollowed husk of what it stood for, bloodied, rusted, dying. Her use of the Renaissance is a show of the past, and how we can't continue to keep on doing what works. Just as the realism of the Renaissance had come to an end, Cubism must too. It's time to seek out something new, to break away from the past, just as she broke away from the idea of a painting simply as a flat surface. The second artwork we will be looking at today is Irregular Forms, Creation, a 1911 oil on canvas painting created by František Kupka. At the age of 13, Kupka's financial issues had forced him to leave school and work for a saddle maker. It was here that his employer introduced the ideologies of spiritualism to him. However, it wasn't until later, after a few years of traveling, while making money as a sign painter, that his interests in philosophy, history, and painting were cemented. Once he had begun his early training, his lack of education had led him to a voracious desire to read, reading everything he could get his hands on. From anatomy to philosophy and chemistry to witchcraft, his interest in Eastern philosophy, theosophy, and occult practices date from this period. It was through the combination of these sources that he developed his own belief system, the belief in an invisible reality hidden beneath the surface. LACMA describes Kupka as a pioneer of abstraction who used color and form to express the spiritual themes of his art. He argued that properly composed colors could bring the viewer into contact with seemingly immaterial concepts, such as thought, spiritualism, and mysticism. The beliefs Kupka held and developed within his life are quite obviously represented within this painting. Though the painting is abstract and a clear image is difficult to discern, the use of line, color, and light help to provoke the viewer's mind. The almost random assortment of colors placed throughout the image, the curved, swirling lines, at places consistent, and yet every stroke is independent from the others. The darkness that cuts through the bright light within the image's center. The gentle sway from light at the upper left hand to the darkness within the lower right hand, as if it were following along with your eyes as you read through the painting. However, even more so, I believe it follows along with your thoughts as you delve into the meaning within. The image's abstract use of these three subjects presents the audience with a question. What do you see? Why do you see what you do? How do the experiences and views you've held affect your perception of this image? Is the way you see this correct? Or is there even a correct way for this image to be seen? It's in this way that Kupka challenges the physical world. Every person's answer is different. Each person has a unique life, a unique form of interpreting what's in front of them. There exists no objective reality within the painting. It's a facade. However, it's a facade that clearly states the falsity within itself, provoking the audience, asking them to seek out where the truth lies. For Kupka, that would be a realm hidden, invisible to us as we are now. Nonetheless, that is simply one interpretation. The painting doesn't force us to acknowledge a system of beliefs we may not hold. It asks us to look past what's been placed before us, to refuse what the world may want us to blindly accept as fact, and search for our own conclusion. Whether it be through breaking away from the past or questioning the reality of our world, art is something that provokes the mind unlike anything else. That is what makes art so special. However, I believe what truly gives art its role is how an image from the past, from an entirely different time and an entirely different perspective, perhaps even for a different purpose, can still hold meaning to the people living today. Thank you.